Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going on a yap session. Like I said in last week's vlog, I am on PTO right now. There's not a lot going on. I'm not vlogging. I just got back from Seattle where I did my 3 races. Here's one of the shirts I got for the day 1, which was the half marathon. Thought I would wear it just to flex on you guys a little bit. It was super fun. I'm pretty scraped up. I don't know if you guys can see that. My legs are super scraped up. My right foot is still killing me from all the running and the obstacles. I'll try to flash some photos from the race here on the screen somewhere, but it was seriously awesome. So much fun. And I've already signed up for my next physical challenge, which is going to be the Las Vegas half marathon. And then my plan is to do my first full marathon in the spring. I just want to keep doing hard stuff and challenging myself, so wish me luck, guys. But again, since I'm not in the hospital this week, nothing to vlog. I told you guys in last week's vlog we would do a Q&A, so I have your guys' comments from last week's vlog, and we're just gonna go through them and answer your questions. I'm kind of stealing this idea from Rachel because she does interval Q&As, which I think are a great idea, especially since some rotations it's harder to vlog on, or if you have busy weeks, or like this week I'm on PTO, so there's nothing to vlog. And we tend to get a lot of questions on our videos as well as on Instagram, and it's really hard to answer all of them. We just have very busy schedules, so I think a Q&A is a great idea. So thanks for the idea, Rachel. Anyway, like I said, we're going to be doing a lot of yapping today, so make sure to grab some coffee. I know I've got some. I've been messing around with making espresso drinks at home since my family got an espresso maker, and it's been really nice. Hopefully I can eventually transition off of energy drinks. So good. Okay, question number 1 from Ulysses Gomez. We have, how do you balance work and fitness life? All right, perfect segue since I was just talking about the Spartan trifecta I did this weekend. Honestly, I feel like I barely balance it. I think balancing your physical and mental health in residency is one of the biggest challenges of residency. I have vlogged every single week since I started residency, and I'm sure you guys noticed that in my last block, cardiology, where I had a lot of free time, I was exercising almost every day. I was lifting, I was going running. But then last month when I was on medicine, I'm sure you guys could tell from my vlogs that I wasn't getting a lot of time to exercise and go to the gym. I probably could have gone to the gym at like 8 or 9 o'clock at night, but I was prioritizing sleeping more than going to the gym at that point. And I knew that when I was on a less busy rotation like cardiology, I would have time to make up for the lack of gym going. So I think my advice, and at least what I've been sticking to, is just acknowledging when you do have time and then taking advantage of that time. And no one ever regrets going to the gym or going for a run or just getting any sort of exercise in. Everyone is usually pretty happy after they've done it. So I think it's important to just think about that feeling and then just going for it. Even if it's just for 30 minutes or an hour, I think it helps. And I should listen to my own advice, especially since I tend to slack when I'm on busier rotations like medicine, which I start next week. And my biggest challenge for myself is going to be to maintain my exercise habits next month when I'm on medicine and trying to keep up with it, especially because, again, I don't want to slack on it. Oh, and like I said, I signed up for the Spartan trifecta, which I completed this past weekend. And then I just signed up for my first ever half marathon, which I guess it'd be my second half marathon because the day 1 of the race, was a half marathon with obstacles. So that kind of counts, but I guess this will be my first true formal half marathon. But signing up for stuff that gives you a reason to stay active, I think helps a lot. And that's one of the reasons that I keep signing up for these physical challenges for myself. So yeah, that is my 2 cents of advice on that. The next question says, as a student who wants to go to med school, I find myself sometimes struggling with a balance between school, work, working out, socially. Do I have to accept the fact that I can't spend time with my friends as much or have free time to myself? Kind of piggybacks on that last question. The answer is no. You need to prioritize other stuff just as much as you prioritize medical school or work when you're in residency. Like, we schedule everything else in life, right? Like when you have work, that's part of your schedule. When you need to study, that's part of your schedule. When you have class, that's part of your schedule. You need to also schedule in other things that are important to you, like exercise, like we just talked about, and then also spending time with friends. For example, when I was in medical school, I played video games with my friends almost every single night, all the way through step 2, during my clinicals in 3rd year, and then especially during 4th year. I pretty much told myself that past 8 o'clock, I wasn't gonna get that much return on studying more. So it became a non-negotiable for me to spend my evenings playing video games with my friends. And that was overall better for my mental health, and then allowed me to stay caught up with my friends. And even now as a resident, I go out after work with some of my friends. I go out on the weekends. I just got back from Seattle, which I was there with my brother and some of my friends. I'm going to California this weekend for one of their birthdays. So I'm still prioritizing these things, but I still acknowledge that I'm a doctor. I have a job to do. And when I'm doing that, I'm giving 110%. But when I have free time, I'm also committed to my friends and my family and everything else I enjoy in life. So schedule it just as much as you schedule everything else. Next question, what is your plan with step 3, such as timeline and how you're going to find time to study for it? I'm struggling with that right now. So I signed up for step 3. I'm taking it December 20th and 21st, I believe. So I'm about 3 months out. I've picked at UWorld, not nearly as much as I should, because I've been just focusing on trying to be a good resident. But admittedly, I've definitely had downtime that I should have been cranking out more UWorld, but I've just been taking the downtime as breathers and focusing on my physical health, for example, getting extra exercise time in or working on these videos. My plan is to basically lock in after this PTO is done and make sure that I'm doing 20 to 40 questions a day. I'm pretty much just going to use UWorld and then the practice cases like banks that I think someone told me I should be doing. And that's kind of it. I'm not going as hard as step 1 and step 2, mainly because some of this content is repeated. And also this is a pass-fail exam, so there's not that pressure. I'm just really going to try my best to pass. That's my plan right now, is 3 months of UWorld. Next question, are your siblings in the medical field? What do they do for work? So I have 4 siblings. 2 of them are my triplets, and then the other 2 are my older half brothers. And so my triplet brother, he is in events and marketing for Hilton Grand Vacations. He's in like the timeshare department, so he takes guests out for dinners and shows and all that, and then the marketing team comes in and like sells them timeshare. If you guys ever see on my stories that I'm eating fancy dinners, it's not because I can afford those dinners, it's because I'm mooching off of his job, because they go to dinners a lot and we can kind of eat at those restaurants. It's pretty awesome. And then my sister, she is a front desk assistant manager, I believe, at a hotel in Austin, Texas. And she got her degree in hotel administration, I believe, here in Las Vegas. And I think her goal is to stay in the hospitality industry, but then she's also dabbled in things like physique competing and coaching and all that stuff. And then one of my half brothers, he is, I believe, in medical device sales. I know that he works with a medical device company and he works at a surgery center also in Austin, Texas. But that's the extent that I know about. And then my other half brother does social media branding and marketing and design, and I believe works with companies to create their branding. So in short, I'm the only person in my entire family to become a doctor, and I'm also the only person to even go into the healthcare industry. So I didn't have any family guidance when I decided to go on this journey. I kind of just decided to do it and went for it. I'm sure having a doctor in the family, though, will have its perks. Next question, do you know if you want to subspecialize in anesthesia, like trauma, neuro, cardio, etc.? Great question. So there are a lot of subspecialties you can go into with anesthesiology. I believe that for the last few years, the fellowship rate has gone down. I think 80% of anesthesia residency grads were doing fellowship, and now I think like 20% are. And I think that's just because the anesthesia job market has become so good that it doesn't really make sense from a pay perspective to subspecialize. But if you are interested in subspecializing, then you definitely should. Right now, I am just focusing on getting through residency, but unfortunately, I am kind of interested in critical care, I think, or maybe cardiac. So I'm considering those, but I'll have a better idea once I start going through the subspecialty rotations when I'm doing my anesthesia training in San Diego next year. Actually, it might be 2 years, because I think your first year is mostly general OR and pre-op and post-op stuff. So it won't be until I'm a PGY 3, I believe, that I'm doing more of the subspecialties. So stay tuned, because I'll update you guys if I decide to do fellowship at some point. Okay, next question. What do you do on days where you feel exhausted or overwhelmed to fight through and keep a smile on your face? Much love from Australia. Ooh, a comment from Australia. That is pretty cool. I've actually always wanted to go to Australia. So yeah, that's a really good question. A lot of the feedback I get from my vlogs is that I seem very positive, and seem to be having like a lot of fun in residency, which I am. And I try to be a positive person generally because I think that's just something we have the ability to control, even if we're having a bad day or there's a bunch of negativity around us. Like, I think that the way that we react to situations is very important. And I think that's something we have complete control over is our positivity at baseline and, towards our coworkers, co-residents, whatever. It is hard. Like, I've had vlogs where I'm sure you guys could tell I was more tired and more exhausted and a little bit down in the dumps compared to other days. There was actually 1 week on medicine that I keep thinking back to that was really tough, and I was trying really hard to stay positive for you guys, but it was really hard and I wasn't feeling positive myself. Every day was kind of dragging, and that 1 week in particular is kind of making me dread having to go back to medicine next month, but it'll be okay. Again, on those days, I kind of just accept the situations for what they are, especially if it's something outside of my control. Try to just keep my head down, push through it, but also maintain a general amount of positivity as best as I can. And being positive doesn't mean being high energy. Like, you can be positive but still be tired and exhausted. But again, I think it really comes down to making sure that you're treating people the way that you want to be treated regardless of the situation that's happening around you. It's tough though. Medicine is a tough field. I think it's one of the toughest fields to maintain positivity, and it's a system that works you pretty tough. And I'm just doing my best. I'm just trying to get through it, trying to keep a smile on my face. But like, you also owe it to yourself to take care of yourself. And if things are rough, you shouldn't gaslight yourself into thinking that it's not that bad, you can handle it. Some days you just have to acknowledge it sucks. And there are going to be good days and bad days, and you fight through the bad days and you enjoy the good days. So I don't even know where I'm going with this. Just try to stay positive, push through it. Sherry Dawson, longtime viewer, always appreciate your comments. Your question is, on your really busy rotations, how does one fit in dating? You guys actually ask me about dating a lot. I'm not too sure why. I kind of get it. I think not just residency, but the entire medical field is kind of hard to date in because you work weird schedules and you sometimes want to date someone who's kind of in the medical field, so you have that understanding of each other's professions. But then at the same time, sometimes you don't want to date someone in the medical field because you don't want to come home and have the same conversations about, the hospital or people at the hospital or whatever, like complaining about your bad days. You just want to step away from it. I've dated throughout medical school. I've had some relationships. Currently single, and I think my position is interesting because I'm moving to San Diego next year, so it's kind of hard for me to, be okay with starting any sort of relationships right now while I'm in Las Vegas, knowing that I'm going to be leaving, right? That's a tough situation to be in. I think if you want to date in residency, you definitely can and you should, because we're only getting older and uglier and less athletic. Gray hairs are growing in. It's getting worse year by year, guys. I know some people are like, oh, I'm just going to focus on school, medicine, not worry about dating. You should. It's important, I think, to have a long-term partner that's there to support you and help you. At least that's how I feel. Would I love to be in a stable, long-term relationship right now? Absolutely. Is it tough for me? Yeah, because in general, you have to find time for dating, and some months are busier than others. Some rotations are busier than others, and you need to set aside that time even when you're exhausted, right? I'm also moving in a year to another state, so it's kind of hard to set up a relationship knowing that you're leaving to another state, if that makes sense. Like, that'd be kind of unfair for the other person to get into a long distance relationship or to have to move to a whole new place for the relationship. So I'm kind of in a weird spot. I would love to be in something stable right now. But the universe has other plans. Things don't necessarily work out the way that we wish they would, and you kind of just have to accept it and move on. I don't really know what my advice is, honestly. I don't think I have advice because like I'm not an expert on dating, right? I don't know. If I was, I wouldn't be single, right? I think that if you want to fit in time for dating, you can, just like you fit anything else in. You are the only person who cares about your relationship status as much as you do. So, if you want to find love, then you got to put yourself out there, keep yourself out there, invite it, welcome it, and not be closed off when it's happening, if that makes sense. And even if you're tired from a 12-hour shift, go on the date. Just go on the date, and if that person is the right one for you, then they'll accept you for the bags under your eyes and your gray hairs and your lack of energy. Okay, next question is, can you explain more about how consults work and what you do during consults? So consults basically mean that a primary service is asking you to come see their patient because you are on a subspecialty service. So for example, this past month, I've been on cardiology, which is a subspecialty of medicine. So basically, if one of the hospitalists, for example, has a patient that they're taking care of, and that patient has some sort of new cardiac thing or some ongoing cardiac thing that they would like your opinion on or your consult on, they can put in a consult to your service. So if I'm on call for cardiology, I would then get notified that Dr. So-and-so is seeking my consultation, and then I would go see the patient and then give them my assessment and plan from a cardiology perspective. This is why we say that medicine is a multidisciplinary field, because you have all these different people coming together to help our patients. Just because you're a doctor doesn't make you an expert on everything, which is why we put in consults, because we'd rather have the experts on board, especially if it's a complicated cardiology case or nephrology case, or if this patient has some sort of infection that we're working up and we want like antibiotic regimens for, then you want the infectious disease specialists on, right? So that's what it means to consult another service. What are the specialties that one can go into and still have time for YouTube? Great question. Honestly, every specialty. I think there are YouTubers from pretty much every specialty here. You see cardiologists here on YouTube, you see ophthalmologists, you see plastic surgeons, you see medicine doctors. Like pretty much every specialty has some sort of YouTube or social media presence. So you can pretty much do YouTube with anything, honestly. I wouldn't choose your specialty based on which one you can do YouTube with. I wouldn't do that at all. Just do the one that you actually want to do. Next question, IMG here, can you explain the whole transition program thing? Please and thank you. Of course. So as many of you know, I'm doing a transition year, which is basically an intern year at another program that is not my advanced program, which is going to be my anesthesia program in San Diego. Basically, since I matched at UCSD, which is an advanced program, they say you can go and do your intern year anywhere else, and as long as you pass your intern year and take step 3, you can continue and do your anesthesiology training with us. That's essentially what it is. So I'm doing a transition year, which is just a general intern year here in Las Vegas, where I go through different specialties: medicine, cardiology, nephrology, emergency medicine, surgery. And after this year, I'll then go and do my training in anesthesiology. There's also programs called prelim programs, which is basically the same thing. Not all residency programs require a TY. In fact, most of them are called categorical, which means you do your entire training at that one program. But there are still some programs, like the one that I'm going to for anesthesia, that is advanced and lets you do your intern year as a prelim or a transitional year. So yeah, hopefully that explained things. Next question, what made you pick anesthesiology? Can you go through your 3rd year schedule and rank/rate each specialty, which led you to anesthesiology? That might take another video on its own, but the long story short is I wanted a specialty that was very hands-on, right? So anesthesiology is good for that. And then was also something that I could go into maybe some sort of trauma with. So I was thinking like emergency medicine versus anesthesiology. I was thinking medicine at some point, and then eventually going to ICU. So I knew I wanted some sort of like ICU level specialty with also procedures, and then also lifestyle was important for me, of course. So anesthesiology kind of checks all those boxes. Next question is, do you have any regrets matching anesthesia now that you're rotating as an intern and all these different specialties? Great question. Answer is no, I have no regrets. I have enjoyed some of these other specialties like surgery. I really had a good time on, but I'm still very excited to be doing anesthesia. I'm sure I would have been happy in other specialties as well. I was definitely that kind of person during med school where I could see myself in multiple, but I don't have any regrets about matching anesthesiology. Cools Breeze is asking, are you planning to come back to Las Vegas after residency in San Diego? And that's a great question. I don't know yet. We'll see where the wind takes me. A lot of people tend to grow roots where they do their residency training because you're making professional contacts and you kind of see that place as home for your entire residency training. So hard to tell. We'll see if my mom and brother are still here and if all of my childhood friends are still here that I still talk to every day, and how much I love San Diego, right? It's hard to tell right now. I think I'd be happy with it, but I think I'm gonna like San Diego a lot too. Next question, are you actually going to quit YouTube? No, sorry for the clickbaity title with the last vlog, guys. YouTube just really likes the clickbaity titles, and like I'm still gonna be as genuine as possible, but you gotta give the algorithm what it wants sometimes. You gotta, give it a little bit of spiciness, flare it up a little bit, get people to click on the video. It's a tough game. I don't like to play it, but it's YouTube. It's the internet. More love life questions. Goodness, guys. We already talked about that. How old are you? You look so young. Thank you. I appreciate it. I feel like some days I look old and then some days I look younger. It kind of just depends. I'm 28 years old. I just turned 28 in July. Do you guys get paid to be on call during residency? No, there's no difference in pay when you're on call versus not on call. You just get your salary. How do you feel about respiratory therapists and their job/role in the hospital? Love respiratory therapists. I work with them all the time, especially on our patients who are coming in for pulmonology issues. And then going to anesthesiology, when you're working in the ICU, you work with respiratory therapy all the time. So respiratory therapists are awesome, amazing. If you're thinking about doing respiratory therapy, you definitely should. Any tips for matching into anesthesiology specifically without a home program? So yeah, that's tough. I kind of like have a soft home program where my city has a community hospital that has an anesthesia program, but they're not directly tied to our university. So I guess I kind of did this. Honestly, my biggest advice, I didn't do away rotations because I was originally planning on wanting to stay here, but I would highly recommend doing away rotations and getting letters of recommendation from programs that you rotate at, because if you don't have a home program, you need to make your presence known at other programs. So that'd be my biggest advice, is to actually do away rotations. Next question, do you do the transesophageal or transthoracic echocardiograms alone, or do you do it with the help with your attending? You do it with your attending. As a resident, we do everything with our attending. The more you do things, the more autonomy you get during it, but you're still being overseen by your attending. So it's like a progressive thing, right? Like the first time you ever do anything, you're probably not going to do the majority of it, but as you do something more often, the more of it you'll do, right? That's training. Is it possible for me to handle being a neurologist and a writer? Both are my passions. Yes. If you want to be a writer, be a writer. If you want to be a neurologist, also be a neurologist. You can do both. I wanted to be a doctor, but I also want to be a YouTuber. And so I do both, and you can too. Just prioritize both. Just do it. You can do it. You don't have to pick. Life's too short. You don't need to pick just one thing that you do the rest of your life. How will you balance the dogs and residency when you're in San Diego? Great question. One of the reasons I live at home right now is because it helps a lot with the dogs, because my mom is here, my brother is here. When I go to San Diego, chances are I'll be by myself. I might look into having a roommate, but that is currently something I'm trying to figure out. So if you guys have any recommendations for me, please let me know. Do you feel like your program supports your work-life balance, and is that a part of your decision to accept that residency? Yes, that is a huge thing. I knew my program was a good program for support and work-life balance because I rotated here for like a month and a half when I was a medical student, and I saw how happy the residents were. I saw the support that the program gave to the residents and all the different benefits and whatnot. So that was one of the reasons I ranked my current program as my top transitional year program. So they're very supportive. My PD, APD, all the program administrators, super awesome. I feel like I can text them or email them or walk into their office whenever I need anything, and they'll be there ready to help. Next question is, why is it that medicine has this thing where your entire life is supposed to be centered around it? Whether you're in or outside the hospital, you have to breathe medicine wherever you go. We've kind of talked about this, and I feel like I've really mostly been trying to like flip the script on that with my videos. I don't believe that at all. I think it is archaic, and I think it's old-fashioned that medicine has to be your entire life, and that you have to commit everything to this field. I think you can commit 110% when you're here, and I think that you can do other things when you're not in the hospital. I don't think it needs to be her whole life. I really think that we should flip the script on that. I've been filming for a while, so I'm trying to run through these questions. What is your hair routine? It looks great. I'm jealous. Honestly, I'm having a midlife crisis with the hair. Like right now I'm going with like the kind of flow back. I basically just come back after the shower, spray some sea salt spray in it. I use a hair dryer just to keep it kind of pulled back. But some days I'm thinking I want to go back to kind of that more kind of boyish haircut I had before, where it kind of just flows over to the side. Maybe cut it shorter, maybe keep letting this grow out. Honestly, I don't know. I don't spend a whole lot of time with it, but I am having a crisis every single morning when I do my hair. I think that I should change it up or go back to my previous hairstyle. I don't know. If you guys have recommendations for hair, let me know in the comment section. I would love them. Next question from pharmacist Shane is your vlog creating a nice side stream income? The answer is yeah. I mean, the YouTube vlogs pull in some ad revenue whenever you guys are watching these. When the ads pop up, I get a little chunk of change from that. It's been nice. It definitely supplements my income. I was able to have some spending money during medical school because of these vlogs, and I am now, as a resident, the views have kind of gone up since you guys have been watching my residency vlogs so much, and so I'm making probably about $1,000 to $2,000 per month extra with these vlogs currently right now with the current view count. A bit of an anomaly because one of my vlogs is doing really well, the salary vlog that has like 200 something thousand views. So I don't know if that amount will keep up, but if you guys want a video talking about my YouTube income or want me to talk about it in one of my vlogs, let me know. But the answer is yes, it does create a nice little side income and is another reason, if you're thinking about going to social media, that you totally should. Next question is, what advice do you have for third and fourth year medical students? Great question. For third year medical students, keep an open mind, look at every specialty as something that you can go into and try to see yourself in that specialty. Don't be closed-minded to it just because you're not initially thinking about doing that specialty. Try to just be a good student, pretend you're going into that specialty and do a good job. And once you've decided, get through the rest of the year, get through ERAS. And when you're a fourth year medical student, my advice is take advantage of the free time. Do nothing related to school, nothing related to studying. Go on your rotations, still be a good medical student, but enjoy the free time. Go on vacation, spend time on yourself, physical activity, all that stuff. You have no idea how much free time you have during fourth year. It's incredible, and I look back very fondly on those months, and I wish I took better advantage of it. All right, last question of the Q&A. If you couldn't be a doctor or do YouTube, what would you be? Great question. I think what I would do is honestly probably something related to computer science or real estate, maybe. I have definitely like a creative mind. Like I like doing YouTube for that reason. I like doing other things that keep me engaged and active. And I always think computer science would be really cool. I watch a few computer science vloggers like JedCal, and I really like their lifestyle. I could definitely see myself like creating things with code. And also one of my biggest regrets with doing medicine is I like traveling and I really want to see the world, and it's really hard to do that with medicine. So I think in another life, I would have gone into computer science or something that I could work more remotely with and travel more and, you know, see more of the world with. So I think probably computer science, but then also real estate, just because my dad did real estate. My mom currently does real estate, and I think that's a lot of fun too. And I'm always looking at houses and apartments and their prices and all that stuff. So I think I would have done that too. Or maybe YouTube full time. And if you guys keep watching these and keep spamming the like button, dropping comments, subscribing, maybe I can retire from medicine and be a full-time vlogger. I'm just kidding. I wouldn't do that, but it's a good thought. Okay, I've been filming for a while. I don't want the Q&A to be too long, but I hope I answered a lot of your questions. And if you guys liked the Q&A and you would be interested in me doing more of these, maybe once a month or so, just because again, I get a lot of comments and questions on my vlogs as well as on Instagram, and it's just hard to answer all of them. I would be very down to do more of these, especially when I'm on busier rotations like medicine next month or ICU in a couple months. Let me know in the comment section below. Continue to ask more questions. Please hit the like button, subscribe, comment. It helps so much with the YouTube algorithm, and it allows me to keep making these videos for you guys, which I really enjoy. It's been so fun to take you guys along this path with me. And I hope you guys have learned a thing or two or have been inspired in some way by these vlogs. I go back to work on Monday, and like I said, I will be back on medicine, so the vlogs will be back, and I think it's gonna be a pretty rough month, so stay tuned. Anyway, thank you guys so much again for watching, and I will see you guys next time.